What's up, guys? I'm Laura from Reading in Bed, and I am going to be doing the 28 more random questions tag. I haven't done the first one, assuming there is one, but this is an original tag that was created by Steve Donahue, and in which he did not tag me until after the fact when I pointed out that I wasn't tagged. It's okay, I'm not mad. You can tell that he made these questions because they're rather sort of apt for him, but they're strangely kind of apt for me too, so that's why I wanted to do it. So number one is, how old is your oldest living relative? So that would be my grandfather on my dad's side, who is 90 years old. Number two is, as an adult, have you ever been in a fight? And he specified that he meant like a physical fight where there will be a winner and a loser. And no, I haven't. I've never been in a physical fight like that, thankfully. Number three, have you ever been slapped in public? Yes, I have. Randomly. Like, I was walking down the street downtown one day, and a woman just like reached out and slapped me in the face and kept walking. And I didn't know what to do with that. So I also kept walking, but it really threw off my whole day. Like, it was just one of the most bizarre things that's ever happened to me. So yes, I have. Number four is, what's the largest non-human animal you've seen in person? Well, that would probably be Lucy, the Asian elephant who is at our zoo here in Edmonton. Lucy is very controversial. Many people, including Bob Barker and other celebrities, have called for her release. Now, I work for the city, and I work for that department that takes care of attractions and rec centers. So I don't want to get into my views on Lucy because I'm probably a little biased. I'm a bit too close to it. I know a lot of the people who work at the zoo. But yeah, Lucy, she's pretty big. Number five is, have you ever had serious surgery? Yes, because I've had a C-section, and I think, like, Steve gave some very specific criteria. He said either where you were out, like general anesthesia, which, no, for a C-section you get to be awake, or you had to recover in hospital, and yes, I definitely did. Number six, if you could only compare the novels of Cormac McCarthy to one kind of garbage, what kind would it be? Now, this question is just trolling Memento Mori. However, I haven't read him. I have The Road, and I gave it to my husband to read. I can't remember when. It was recently, though. I often recommend fiction for him. He picks out his own nonfiction, but I said, you know what? This is a real man's book. You should give it a try. I don't think he made it farther than 20 pages. He just could not deal with the style. So I guess you'd have to ask him what kind of garbage he would compare it to. Number seven is, who would be your dream casting for Superman? I don't have an answer for this one because I'm not familiar with the comics, the old TV show with Dean Cain, the movies. Like, I really don't have a dream about casting Superman. Number eight is, what's the greatest amount of physical pain you've ever been in? Well, I mean, I could just be very vague and say childbirth. I'll be slightly more specific and say having a placenta manually removed. Which, if you've been through that, you know exactly what I mean. If you haven't, just continue living your life not knowing what that involves. Yeah, I want it to die. Let's see, where did we leave off here? Number 9, do you believe in a god or gods? No, I do not. Number 10, have you ever been good and properly drunk? And again, Steve has like very specific criteria. So he means not just tipsy and not like bad drunk where you're, soiling yourself and falling on the ground. He means like that good place in between where you're drunk and you need help, but you're kind of, merry about it. And yeah, I mean, I definitely have. I've been all those shades of drunk, from tipsy to blacked out and everything in between. And good and properly drunk, yeah, definitely, lots. But not recently. Not since having kids, probably, sadly. Number 11 is, to the best of your knowledge, what's the closest you've ever come to death? I don't think I've ever been terribly close to death. I've been in like maybe some somewhat perilous situations, but never got close to death. I've felt like I was dying, seeing my previous answer to the most amount of physical pain, but I was not close to death. Number 12 is, which Star Trek character would the person who knows you best compare you to? Again, I don't really have an answer because I'm not very familiar with Star Trek. My parents are. Like, they would probably have an answer for this because they were really into Star Trek. And, like, my dad was sort of troublingly into Seven of Nine. My mom really liked Q. I think his name is Q. But I don't know. You would have to ask my parents probably. Number 13 is, have you ever had your life radically changed by a book? And my answer is quite similar to Steve's in this regard, where I would have to say no, because while there have been many books that have made me think about things differently, that I loved, that I obsessed over, that I continue to reread all the time, they didn't change my life. I mean, my life is still what it is. And whenever I'm asked through a tag or whatever to show examples of a book that changed your life, I always show something like, Alan Carr's Guide to Quitting Smoking, stuff like that, like self-help kind of stuff that was actually effective for me. Not fiction, even though fiction is what I prefer to read. Number 14, is there a universally beloved classic that you simply don't like? Darn it, I didn't prepare for this one because there probably is, but I don't have one off the top of my head. I do tend to appreciate most classics. There would be some I like more than others. I don't know if there's one that I totally hate and revile. I may have to come back and revise this because there probably is one. I'm just not thinking of it. Number 15 is, what is your dream profession? And I think my dream profession would be reviewing books. I think Steve sort of had his answer was more specific. He wants to have a syndicated column. He is currently, that is his profession, is reviewing books. And that would be kind of my dream one too. Although I wonder if moving from a hobby to doing it for a living would sour the experience. And actually I have done some freelance reviewing, just a little bit, not for a living by any means. And it did sort of, I was starting to feel that way just with the little bit I was doing, and I've pretty much stopped because of it. So I don't know. Number 16, is there an entire genre of reading you're bugged you haven't fully explored? Not really, not bugged, because I recognize that my time is limited and it's impossible to read everything from genres you are into, let alone, oh, the cats just jumped up, let alone genres you're not into. One I keep trying to get into is romance, and I haven't been very successful so far, and I keep trying, so that bugs me a bit. Number 17, when you people watch, what's the main thing you notice? Well, sadly, usually I'm noticing other women's, recently it's been sort of what are people doing with their gray hair situation? Because I don't know if you can really tell, but I've got a gray hair situation and I'm really sick of dyeing it every 4 to 6 weeks. It's a pain in the ass. I don't like doing it. But and then I try to let it grow out for a while, but then I just can't. It gets so awful. I'm like, and I just dye it again. So I notice I'll look at women around my age or older and oh, is she letting hers grow out? What's she doing with it? So totally just vain and stupid comparing, physical looks and stuff. Number 18, barring the unforeseeable, what's the most likely way you'll die? That's an interesting one. In my family, my grandparents, I have the one who's still alive at 90. Some of the others lived into, I think the other 3 each died sort of 60, maybe late 60s, early 70s and into their 80s. And I think most of them died of cancer. So, I mean, probably of cancer, I guess. Although by the time I'm that old, things may be very different. My kids are very into, one of them is very into learning about gene modification. So I've read a bit and watched some videos about it. And that, aging and diseases like that are sort of the main area of research, other than designer babies and stuff like that. So that may look different by the time I'm old enough to be sort of really susceptible to cancers and stuff. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe we'll all be living to the age of 200 by then. Where was I? 19, have you visited any of the world wonders, ancient or modern? So, and then Steve has listed them here. So the ancient ones, the only one you can see now is the Great Pyramid of Giza, and I have not visited that. Of the modern ones, the Great Wall of China, no. Petra, which I had no idea what it was, no. Christ the Redeemer in Brazil, no. Chichen Itza, yes, because I went to Mexico on my honeymoon. That was my one big international trip. I don't really count the States as international. And we did go to Chichen Itza, and my husband didn't put on sunscreen. So that was the main takeaway from that he was severely sunburned. But it was very cool. We did not climb it because they did not allow you to climb it at that time. It was back in 2009. And then after that, there's the Colosseum, the Taj Mahal, and the Great Pyramid of Giza. I haven't been to any of those. Number 20 is, what are your main superpowers? I think my superpower is flying under the radar. of kind of bullying and abusive bosses. Like, I've had 3 bosses in my career, which has been like the past 15, 16, whatever years, who you could definitely classify as abusive. And I think all 3 of them were suffering from mental health problems or substance abuse problems or both. And like, colleagues of mine would get yelled at, get stuff thrown at them, like just all these ridiculous and like totally inappropriate situations. But all 3 of them were always very sweet and kind to me. And I always found that like really weird. Like, I was the one person that they did not unleash their craziness on. And I don't know if that's a superpower, like flying under the radar of crazy people, but works for me so far. Number 21 is, have you ever met any famous people? Not in more than a very like superficial way, like a book signing or something like that. Or, like local celebrities. So in Edmonton, that's, like hockey players and stuff. And again, not in anything more than a superficial way anyway. So no, not really. 22 is, have you ever slept out of doors? And by that, he meant like out of doors, like not in an RV or in a tent. And no, I have not. Number 23 is, would you make a good parent? Or if you're already a parent, how much do your children hate you? My boys love me, obviously. The better question might be how much I still love them. This morning, a couple hours ago, I caught my 6-year-old buck naked peeing into a garbage can in his bedroom. Like, I still love them, of course, but honestly. Number 24 is New Kids on the Block or Backstreet Boys. New Kids on the Block. I saw New Kids on the Block live for my 10th birthday. I really have no personal connection to the Backstreet Boys whatsoever. New Kids on the Block, on the other hand, very formative experience in my life. Number 25, have you ever been on stage in front of an audience? Yes. The one that comes to mind is I used to do belly dance before I had kids, and I took part in a couple of recitals and things like that. I even have some pictures from it. I don't think if I knew how to put them here, I'd put them here. Believe me. But I don't, so you'll just have to take my word for it for now. Number 26, at the moment, what's your favorite non-BookTube YouTube channel? Lately, I've been getting really into skincare videos. Not so much makeup, because I don't really enjoy makeup very much, but skincare. Like, I'm turning 38 right away, so I'm trying to, delay the inevitable, I guess. So getting into some anti-aging and all of that. And there's a lot of good channels out there. The one I like the most is called Hot and Flashy, which I just love the name. She might be 50 or maybe a little over 50. And she's really good, like very thorough, good production values. But I also, I appreciate the fact that she's 50. I mean, you have these skincare channels with these 22-year-old girls with perfect skin, and it's like, well, you don't need skincare. Like, I need skincare because I no longer have youth and all that stuff that you have. So yeah, like those channels confuse me, and like these, immaculate 22-year-olds using retinol and all these, and it's like, you don't need that. That's for old bags like me. So anyways, Hot and Flashy. Number 27 is, have you ever passed out while sober? I don't think so. Like, maybe I've fallen asleep when I didn't quite intend to, but I don't think that really counts. And then question 28, what a one to end on. How strong are you physically, intellectually, and emotionally? I don't really know how to answer that. I don't think I've really been tested that much. I haven't really experienced a lot of tragedy in my life. Nor have I experienced many huge upheavals. I mean, I moved cities when I was 10. Like, that was kind of a big deal. I've had children. That is kind of a big deal. But I haven't really lost anyone close to me. I'm still married. My kids are not estranged from me or anything like that. Like, I think it's more those kind of things that really test your strength. I mean, I think that I'm fairly strong. Like, physically, I'm not, strong, muscle mass wise, but I'm a fairly healthy person. Intellectually, again, I mean, I was one of those gifted kids in elementary and junior high, but then once I got a little older, you sort of realize that doesn't really mean much and you're not special. However, I do you know, I think I'm okay intellectually for the most part. And emotionally, I don't know. I mean, I'm feeling okay now. Had you asked me a couple years ago when there was a 5-year period where I was either pregnant, breastfeeding, or both. Had you asked me during those years emotionally, yeah, it was a little rocky, okay? But I'm feeling okay now. So I don't know. I mean, I think those things have sort of yet to be really tested. So hopefully I'm strong enough for whatever's coming my way. So that's the tag. Really good question, Steve. Thank you. Thank you for sort of like B-list tagging me. That's fine. And I don't really have, I'll put some people down below because I never think of people off the top of my head. But, if you want to do this, do it. I'll take a couple of people in the description box. Thanks for watching.